right, everybody, it's time for another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys watch random movies in quarantine, and we're all alone here. How are you, Kyle? Oh, I'm
All by myself. Actually, I'm all by my with my family. Uh,
with my family too.
uh,
I'm
doing
chatting,
all
and with
right though.
me is the Dr. House to my Dr. Cox, Kyle Milford. There, that's a better intro.
and we're on our second episode of What You Watchin', which we have separated from our main feature, just to give you a little more content, a little more often, and a little more shorter. A little more shorter. I don't
A
know.
little shorter, a little
My
quicker.
my sanity is a little more shorter now that I've been inside for so many months.
Amen.
But let's just get into it with because I've watched a lot of stuff because you know what? I'm stuck at home.
Yeah.
uh, there's going to be a couple in here that are just basically, you know if you should see it or not. Like I have been taking this time to actually introduce my daughters to some classic films. They are 10 and 8 years old, and so
So you watched The Room
yes,
with Tommy Wiseau.
no, we watched Apocalypse Now, and Uh, no, actually, one that I introduced them to was Spaceballs, and they enjoyed it. There's a lot of stuff in there that's like really dated jokes, like the Doublemint twins and and stuff like that. But overall, the humor actually works, and they enjoyed it. A rewatch that I had was Sing Street. Okay, this came out in 2016. All I'm going to say is it's in my top five of the last 20 years. So
Okay, I still haven't seen Sing Street. I saw
go.
Spaceballs way too many times as a child.
My only review of Sing Street is it is pure joy to watch it. So, yeah, just go and watch it. It's wonderful. I watched that new movie, The Nightingale, by
Yeah.
oh, now it's gonna kill me to
Isn't it
not
Jennifer Kent?
Jennifer Kent, yes, which
Yeah.
Babadook was one of my favorite horror movies in a long time, and I loved that movie. And so I was really excited to see The Nightingale, and it kind of just was a basic revenge movie that was like 2 hours long.
Oh, yeah.
So it kind of dragged a little. I did like that, being directed by a woman, with the rapes, there is a rape scene in it, and it's not for like the male gaze, how like even in rape scenes in horrific movies, they always have to have the woman naked, like back in the 80s, that's like what you did.
Yeah.
This one, it's like horrific to watch. Like she's just, yeah, and it shows that it's actually truly a horrible experience.
Which, it is, obviously.
Exactly. So I mean, it's one of those where it's like, oh, I don't need to see that again. but overall, the rest of the movie was it was fine. Just like I said, just a basic revenge movie. It didn't really do much for me. But one that I did like was a movie from 1980 called Little Darlings with Tatum O'Neal and Christy
Oh,
McNichols.
yeah.
And I had never really heard anything about this. It's really kind of good. It's two girls who meet at a camp in the summer, and it's the whole losing your virginity thing, that they did a lot in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
But I really liked with how they did it in showing like the pressures of the female for doing these kind of things and like the aftermath of it. And then, then these two girls they were enemies at the beginning. They became friends at the end. It's really quite well done. And I highly suggest it, especially,
Cool.
especially if you have, teenage girls, maybe like just showing kind of the peer pressure of it all and how that can affect you and all that stuff. So I rewatched Good Will Hunting. It's another one. People know that one. Wonderful
Yep.
movie.
That's a good one.
The it's not your fault scene gets me every time.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that I was a first time watch for me was a movie from 1993 called Blood In, Blood Out. And another name it was also known by was Bound by Honor. And this was really quite good. This was another like 2 hour movie, but it was about two half brothers and their cousin, and they're all Hispanic, except the cousin is a mixed, and his skin is more white. But they did
Also,
actually have a mixed actor doing the role,
neat.
and it was kind of like living in LA in the it was I think it was based on some real people from like the 70s into up to like 85. And kind of, it dealt a lot with identity within Mexican culture or Latino culture in LA at the time. And, him dealing with the fact that he is half white, half Latino, and he's trying to fit in with the Latino crowd. So, he tries to be almost too hard. One of them becomes a cop, he goes to jail. And then the thing about this movie is I think they said there was like 8 actors in the jail, and everyone else was actually a prisoner.
Wow.
So they actually went into, I think it was San Quentin, and filmed in the prison with actual prisoners.
How on earth did they get that?
I don't know, but I really dug that movie. If you can find it. I actually watched that one on DVD, so I don't it wasn't on any of my streaming services. I watched another one of my Jack Nicholson movies, still plowing through those. I watched The Raven from 1963.
Oh yeah.
And you would think, oh, Roger Corman, that's got to be cheesy schlock, right? Well,
His Poe movies are really good.
and this one was written by Richard Matheson, which is even better. So based on a Poe poem and screenplay written by Richard Matheson.
Nice.
And it had Jack Nicholson in it, but it was Vincent Price, Jack Nicholson, Peter Lorre, and Boris Karloff. And the production design was pretty cool. And I thought like the story itself was fun. And it was a really fun movie. I really dug this one.
Nice.
And moving on from that to a comedy, Young Frankenstein. That's another one I introduced my girls to, and they enjoyed that one too. So
yeah,
there's a couple of the sexual jokes in there, but it kind of goes over their heads, and they enjoy the rest of it. And I have to say,
that's one of Mel Brooks's absolute best.
It really is. I don't know if he ever topped that. I love Blazing Saddles, but Young Frankenstein is something else. And Marty Feldman as Igor is probably one of my favorite comedic performances of all time.
Oh yeah,
just absolutely love him in that role. It's so fun.
I like how his hump moves sides.
What hump? From that black and white movie, I went to a more recent black and white movie called The Lighthouse. Have you seen this one yet?
All I know, it's about 2 old-timey lighthouse keepers that eventually go crazy and I assume fall in love.
Because they're socially isolated like us, so I think it's just the story of what's going to happen to us.
Okay.
After so long. Yeah, they're stranded in a lighthouse and they slowly go crazy, and then there's some weird mythological stuff thrown in there, and it's hard to tell if it's all in the one guy's mind or if it's really happening. It's one of those where it felt kind of ambiguous to me, and I wasn't sure if I liked it or not, but after I watched it, like I kept thinking about it, and I was and it was one of those where I was like, I was really intrigued the entire time. So I would almost recommend this. And this came from Eggers, who did the Vavitch.
Yes.
I did not care for the Vavitch.
You
But
like the Vavitch?
The Vavitch. But this one really intrigued me the whole time. And even the ambiguity of it at the end, I like I said, I wasn't sure if it was, maybe I missed something and you were supposed to know if it was real or not, but it's an interesting journey.
The only thing I know is that Robert Pattinson has a mustache, and then old-timey sailor Willem Dafoe has a pipe and a beard.
Yes, and what I read was that all of their facial hair was real. They really grew those, but they had to darken Robert Pattinson's mustache.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That one is on Amazon Prime if you have Amazon Prime streaming.
And you think they darkened it because the film was shot in black and white so it could show up better?
I think that might have been what it was. Another movie on Prime was The Farewell, which got a lot of positive buzz. I thought it was good. It was what's that?
Said good stuff.
Yeah, it was a solid movie. That's all I have to say about that. On Netflix, I watched Angel Has Fallen.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Mike Bannon. I want to call him O'Bannon because
Mm-hmm.
But no, he's American. Mike Bannon. He's American. He's a Secret Service agent.
This is like the third in the Has Fallen series, right?
Yes, and I enjoy these movies. I'm not even going to call them a guilty pleasure. I hate that term. I don't feel guilty for enjoying these movies.
But you kind of relish this trashiness sometimes.
I do. And I just if you have fun watching a movie, why should you feel guilty about it? That's what I say. And then I had a couple of whodunits this past week. I finally watched Knives Out from last year, and
That was so much fun.
I loved that. I
Oh,
loved,
it's definitely
and I
awesome.
can't wait. I've heard that he's writing Ryan Johnson is writing a sequel right now,
Yep.
and I am excited because yeah, it's going to have to be a whole new cast, but the fact that Daniel Craig is coming back as his foghorn leghorn detective, I am so
Yes.
excited.
Benoit Blanc.
And it was so well written
Hmm.
because it's like you knew who did it halfway through the movie, and that's not really spoiling anything because I knew that going into the movie because I even got to that point. I'm like, oh, so we know who did it, and then you're watching the rest of the stuff unfold, and you're going, where are they going to go from here? And boy, like they just, I didn't see all that, and it was just so, like I said, so well written, and I didn't see any of it, coming, and I thought it was just a good mystery.
Yeah, also I thought there was some really fun comedy elements involved too.
Oh yeah, especially
Like
with
especially like in the scene where they're going through the evidence, then one character's like, "Oh, you mean this evidence?" And then like she stomps through the mud or whatever.
yeah, yeah, trying to cover stuff up. Oh, what? Oh, did you need me? What? Yeah,
And the fact that the one character, I think it was Marta is her name.
yeah.
Yeah,
The nurse or whatever. Yeah,
yeah, and the
Marta.
fact that every time she tries to lie, she throws up. That's just brilliant, just plot device, and it's just really funny every time it happens.
Oh, and the way they use that because it seems so far fetched that you're like, oh, that kind of. At first I was like, that's just gonna take me out of the movie because really, I mean, is that something? But then the way they use it throughout the movie is just fantastic. So I
Yeah,
was like,
the fact that it is worked in as a plot device, and
yeah,
it's
and
well pretty good.
yeah, so worked in there really well. So after having watched Knives Out, which I think is of these last 2 weeks is my biggest recommendation.
Oh yeah,
I really think so. I also went and revisited another whodunit, 1985's Clue,
nice. That
and
one definitely really leans into the comedy. That's more of a parody.
oh yeah, for sure. It's really just kind of playing with the whole whodunit trope of the past, and man, what's it? Tim Curry as the butler.
Yeah, Wadsworth the Butler.
Who are you? I'm the butler. What do you do? I buttle. I, that movie, I just can't even. It's so much fun. That one is on Amazon Prime. If anyone out there has not seen Clue, and you like good comedies, I'm not sure why you haven't watched Clue yet. So it's on Amazon Prime if you've got that.
And then don't forget Madeline Kahn. That's probably one of my favorite Madeline Kahn performances.
I was so mad. Flames were coming out of my face. Fire, flames, burning.
Yeah, that one is also very quotable. Just a lot of really great quickfire dialogue.
I think my favorite line is towards the is the I'm going home to sleep with my wife.
Yes.
Might be one of the best lines ever.
That, and I think one I really like is like, "Hey, you weren't gonna figure it out, so I chose to expose myself. Excuse me, sir, there are ladies present."
Yeah. So many fun little gags like that, and the thing is their timing with it is excellent. Like the because there's certain lines that only work if the person you're playing against has like a great timing to come back with that. Because an example is the last movie I watched these last couple of weeks was I've been working my way through the Police Academy movies, and I
Oh boy.
know I know they're bad, but like I grew up watching those because I grew up in the 80s. As I was a kid in the 80s, so Police Academy was I watched all of them. And Police Academy 3 Back in Training from 1986. And in the 80s I was a big Steve Guttenberg fan. I mean, you had Police Academy, you had Short Circuit, you had in the early 90s you had Three Men and a Baby. I like Steve Guttenberg.
He still wants to finish that series. He wants to make he's the one that wants to make Three Men and a Bride.
Oh, I would love it if all three of them came back for that. That would be awesome. But anyway, Police Academy 3, the comedic timing is that's one of those things where like there are jokes in there that don't work because they pause too long or they do something just for the gag. Like one example is the cops are running into a bank that they think is being robbed, and it's one of those revolving doors. And the one guy goes in, and the other guy goes out, and then he stands there and looks up at the open sky because he went all the way around, and he goes, "What a lobby!" And then he turns around and walks into the building. I'm going, but the thing is like that doesn't work because you didn't actually think that was the lobby, because obviously you knew you were outside because you turned around and walked back into the building. Like,
Oh boy.
so like there were jokes like that just like, you did that just for the gag, but you didn't follow through with it because you didn't have someone drag him out or say, "Hey, dummy, I'm inside," and something, instead of him just turning around or him going, "Oh, wait, I'm outside," and then realizing this was no. He just goes, "What a lobby," and then he turns around and walks in the door.
So it just kind of lays there.
Yeah, it just died as soon as it came out of his mouth. I'm like, so some of the writing in that was not that great, but then again, it was the second Police Academy sequel, so I don't know what you might expect from those movies.
There's what, 5 of them, or I forget.
Oh, I think there are 6 of them because there's, 2 was their first assignment, then there was back in training, and then I think 4 is something back in action or whatever, and then there's one mission to Moscow, and then there's another one. I think there's at least 5 or 6. So, and they're all on Netflix if you want to watch some really bad 80s comedies. I think
I don't like you.
I think I can only recommend them for people who just have nostalgia and grew up on them, because I don't, sometimes you watch those and go, "Oh, how did I even like this?" I watch them and go, I get a kick out of this still. As dumb as they are, I get a kick out of it. It's all right. And again, this is the second one is where they introduced Bobcat Goldthwait. So you get more of him in the third one, and now he's a cop instead of a gang member. And who doesn't love listening to Michael Winslow do a bunch of noises with his mouth?
That's true.
So, so that's kind of
So,
what I've been watching the last couple weeks. Have you watched anything yourself that you recall?
well, I just looked it up, and there's 7 Police Academy movies.
Oh my! I wonder if they are all on Netflix. I think at least the first 5 or 6 are on Netflix.
Yeah, the last one was released in 1994. So,
So I will probably be reporting on some more of those in the future here.
oh dear.
and
I've got 2 that really kind of stuck out to me. At least the 2 that I can really remember. It's because I have this big Criterion box set of the first 15 Godzilla films from the Showa era, so the first big batch of them.
oh,
So
nice.
I started working my way through those. So I had already seen Godzilla and Godzilla Raids Again previously, so now I've seen Godzilla versus King Kong and Godzilla versus Mothra.
Oh, those would be fun. I
Yeah,
I I used to watch those when I was a kid. Whenever they were on TV, I'd watch them. I don't know which ones I've seen because once you
there's
get
like
a
30.
few in, there's so many of them. There's like I don't know which one this is, but it's fun.
Yep.
Did you watch the Japanese, original Gojira, or did you?
Yeah, for some reason in the box set that I have, like all of them are the original Japanese cuts except for Godzilla versus King Kong. I don't know why.
Huh?
Might be
That's
like a licensing issue or whatever, just for that one, but
It could be maybe because King Kong's in it. I wonder if there was something with that. Because is King
maybe.
Kong was that like a Universal monster or something like that, or some other
Uh,
company?
yeah, it's his rights have always been kind of fuzzy, for
Yeah,
lack of a better word.
because now they're going to put them together in another one, but I think
Yeah,
it's both from the same studio now.
yeah, that one is all part of the Legendary Studios kind of Warner Brothers thing with like the MonsterVerse or whatever. So, because that
Cool.
started with the 2014 Godzilla, and then was Kong Skull Island, and then Godzilla King of the Monsters. So,
And I think those movies have been progressively getting better, in my opinion. Because
yeah,
once they got to King of the Monsters, I was like, okay, cool, we get a bunch of monsters. That's what I want to see.
That was fun.
I don't want to see what's his face on a train for 20 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. And Godzilla versus King Kong was fun just because it's two guys in suits just going at it. At one point, it looks like King Kong almost like suplexes Godzilla.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that'd be a great box set to have. Those would be fun to watch.
Oh yeah, it is huge. It is like the size of almost like an art book. So it is huge. So it's like four times. I took a picture of it next to like just a regular Criterion Blu-ray that I had sitting around. It's about four times the size of a regular set. And what's really nice is that they also have tons of. They have a full. They have there's like 8 or 9 discs in the set. One is just like all the extras,
Oh, wow.
and they've got a bunch of stuff. And what's also really nice, they have like a written intro for every film, and they've got like a really nice. They commissioned a bunch of different artists just to write, just for like to make art for representing each of the movies, from like all the way from Godzilla to like Terror of Mecha Godzilla, I think is where it ends. So there's a different artist for every movie. They cover a wide variety of artists. A few of them I recognize, some of them I didn't, but they're all really cool and they're all very different and they're a lot of fun.
Well, awesome.
And then let's see. So Godzilla versus Mothra. That's kind of the last one where Godzilla is a bad guy. Because the first four, he's a bad guy. Then he kind of becomes a hero afterwards.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. They kind of flipped that, didn't they, after a while?
I think it
And
makes sense.
they are still making. They've recently made one in that. What is it, Soho or what is it? The
Toho
studio
is the name of the
Toho.
film. Is who owns Godzilla.
And am I wrong in thinking that they've done one recently?
2016, they did Shin Godzilla. And there's also, I think, been 3 animated Godzilla movies more recently.
Oh, okay. And what year is the last one in the box set?
It's in like 74, 75.
Okay.
Because then they took like a 10-year break, and then they did some more in like the 80s, and then there was like called the Millennium. So there's the Showa era, then there's like the Hensai era, and then there's the Millennium era, and I think the Millennium era is still going, or I don't know what era we're in now. There's too many eras.
Too many eras. Okay. Well, did you have anything else? Or you just been watching some Godzilla recently?
Some Godzilla, and that's the only one that really comes to mind. So I figured we got like a good length going. We're almost at like 30 minutes, so.
Yeah. I just want to go just the ones that I saw that were streaming. I would like to just make sure that I mention all of the streaming places in case anybody's interested in the movies. The Nightingale, if you are interested, it is well directed because it's Jennifer Kent, and it is a good revenge movie. It's just basically that's what it is. That's on Hulu. Little Darlings was on Tubi, so that's a free service, and I would highly recommend that one. Good Will Hunting is on Hulu right now. The Raven was on IMDb free TV, and The Lighthouse and The Farewell were both on Amazon Prime. Angel Has Fallen is on Netflix. Clue is on Amazon Prime, and Police Academy 3 is on Netflix. So there's because our flagship show, We Don't Know What to Watch, is us finding movies that are on streaming services, and that's kind of what we do is find, we're trying to find stuff on streaming services.
We use a kind of a random button to pick one. So
Yeah, so in that way, I watch a lot of stuff on streaming too, so I'd like to watch the stuff and tell people what's out there, especially these days when everybody's at home going, oh well, what am I going to do? Watch some movies. So
after that, I just make some bread. That's what I've been doing.
make bread and then
Baking bread like every week. It's great.
eat bread while you might watch some movies.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of what we've been watching the last couple of weeks, and we'll be back next week with our main show.
Yeah, tune in next time for our main show. We're watching a weird movie from like the late 70s, I think.
Yeah, you definitely want to stick around for that one.
It's certainly something.
Anyway, until next time,
All right.
keep on
I'm
watching.
still Noah Saturn.
And I'm Kyle. Oh, yes, and you can find me we always forget this part, at AwesomeKM on Twitter.
And you can find me at Noah_Saturn on Twitter.
And We Don't Know What to Watch on Instagram, which I realize that I have not updated that lately, so I better get on that.
Boy.
So, all right, until next time, keep on watching.
All righty. Bye-bye.